Subjective realities. Continuums are formed from former systems of self-consciousness. Former systems are structural elements of, let's suppose, human rhizomerals. Former systems are those features that structure бирвулярность, the direction of synthesis scheme, called лоумическая direction, the human direction. With what лоумическая direction is structured? With forms, conceptions. It means it is structured by informational combinations. These combinations differ from anything else, from collective intelligences that represent other types of synthesis schemes in бирвулярности. These combinations are formed by other informational fragments, by other informational combinations. For example, there are humans and cats. A cat is a self-consciousness form of different type of the collective intelligence. This different from humans' type of collective intelligence is manifested in space-time within the systems of other focus dynamics, other interrelations, other conceptions. There are collective intelligences which are manifested in space-time through dogs, rats, other animals, plants, minerals, and all this is represented within one system of interrelations. But this integrated system of interrelations is structured by specific types of subjective realities. We evaluate ourselves and the surrounding world with our own conceptions about the surrounding world and ourselves. It means that we evaluate with our thoughts, psychisms, peculiarities of our physiologic system, psychic system, religious beliefs, scientific achievements, and so on and so forth. On this basis, we arrange the surrounding world in accordance with our own conceptions. As we, humans, do imagine it in general, meaning we may like or dislike something. This building, for example these columns, someone may like them, but someone may not. Because he or she thinks that these columns must be round, or the ceiling maybe should be higher, or of another color, for example red. And these differences touch every aspect of our lives. And there is a great number of such different states. We build the surrounding world with such dissonational towards each other states. Cities, villages, vehicles. We plant our crops, produce food and mechanisms, explore cosmos and other stuff, or we start wars, for example. Someone likes one view, another one considers the same view from the other perspective. As a consequence, we start wars, and do so realize through them. But it is our subjective reality. We form it, all of us together and each of us individually. However, other animals are also manifested in our subjective reality. They think differently, feel differently, and they perceive differently our activity. But also, they perceive their own activity in their own way. But we are manifested together. Some types of collective intelligences, for example, collective intelligences of minerals or plants, do manifest in a more loyal position relatively to us. It happens because they are more кавалерт, comparable with our psychisms and our forms, that means conceptions. Our forms consist from the same set of minerals and plants that are inherent to the surrounding world. It means that former creators of the flora and mineral world structure our forms of manifestation through which we are able to self-realize. Basically, we represent by ourselves liquid crystal structures, conditionally speaking, with inclusions of different plant forms. But again, plant forms are also mineral forms when we remove liquid from there. That's why the conflict between us, plants, and minerals has been activated to the lower degree and manifests to the lower degree. It manifests already on the level of individual differences. Meaning, those dissonance types which we should bring in balance in resonational state. For example, those dissonance types have been represented through other protoforms, through protoforms of the animal kingdom, through fauna. So, our manifestation together with them, not only with animals but also with plants, minerals, allows us to raise the amount of information in our configurations due to experience, due to permanent rise of that awareness, which we acquire during the energy information exchange with animal forms, with plant and mineral forms. Every time we become richer by some information. And this means we cut in, impregnate new information fragments to our configuration. They reach resonance. Due to infusion of new information, some focuses start already not to be in discord, but resonate in respect to something else, which we didn't perceive earlier. The continuum has been formed in this way. It has been formed from the multitude of realities. Every type of animals represents by itself their own subjective reality type. It structures the world, klexes it, quantizes it, as physicists would say. It quantizes the world with their own conceptions about it, about the surrounding world and about themselves. Here is a cat throttling. It quantizes the surrounding space with its conceptions. Here is a man going close to it. They see this space in a completely different way because they quantize it with their own conceptions. This pole, which I pass by, serves in my conception for the lamp to hang and to illuminate this room for keeping passing wires, whatever. The cat in front of me moves and accepts this pole in its own way, from its own standpoint. It doesn't care about the lamp, which does or doesn't hang there, about the wires, which do or don't pass there. It perceives this pole from its own standpoint, for example, as a device for sharpening its claws and nothing else. It doesn't see any other sense in this pole. Its reality is specific and includes this pole built by us. It acquires completely different value. This pole, as such to it, is what it can approach, used to sharpen its claws, and the pole doesn't exist for anything else. But other things doesn't bother us. Dustbins, a running mouse, a bird, whatever. We don't accept them as an animal does. It can be some other animal, not necessarily a cat. I've chosen a cat in order that you fixed it in your conception. All this produces completely different conceptions types and different subjective realities types. They don't exist in space. Only those things exist in space which we define as objects of space. We define them in our own way, and the other forms define them in their own way. And these objects, which possess a certain fixation duration in the given space point, they create the space structure. If these armchairs stand, they stand for a long time. They create the space structure. These poles, this ceiling, this chair, meaning all what had been fixed more or less create the space structure. But all self-consciousness forms have been realizing on this structure in completely different ways, starting from inside of people, to flies, housebugs, which live in these armchairs, different mites, mosquitoes, mice, which dash about. And imagine how everything here has been perceived from the point of view of a fly, accounting for its perception system features. Or to take a mouse which runs under these armchairs, and compare this to our position, when we've come here, sit for a while, talked a little, and then left. Meaning, all these objects are the structured space, which has been structured by our thoughts, our conceptions about how and with what this air should be filled in. Initially, architect has designed this building, and then they've described needed materials, constructions, and finally all this has been assembled. Designers have estimated how it should look here exactly in this way, and they've created the space. You have created the space in some other place, in your apartment, at your working place, somewhere else. Thus, everyone creates around themselves certain pieces of the space. Every living soul, every self-conscious form, builds around themselves something what they consider necessary. We don't mention many things. Let's suppose mouse holes present here. We pay them no notice, though it could be the whole town. In the mouse conception, everything this is absent. But there are many holes, chinks, all these kind of supermarkets to where they have stolen everything from buffet, restaurants, and so on. This is their life. there, in those holes, etc. And all of this seems to them in a completely different way than to us. Especially when they look from the bottom, they don't perceive these armchairs, this ceiling. So, you should arrange everything on levels. There are cities outside of buildings, countrysides lying further. We have built these countrysides on the base of our conceptions. Every countryman, every villager, every townsman has developed their own space, structured it with their own conceptions, thoughts about how it should be, or if it already is, they just get attached to what exists. Everything goes this way, not only on the planet Earth. Self-consciousness forms develop their space on other planets in the same way. It's not necessary for you to see them or to perceive them somehow. These can be self-consciousness forms, which manifest on the level of bacteria. And in the same way you don't perceive here on the level of bacteria. Nevertheless, if you now transform to self-consciousness form of bacterium and enter its perception system, then everything will change instantly in your conception. You won't be able to see people. Every man will represent to you a race, a civilization formed from different bacteria. We swarm with these bacteria and viruses.